Welcome to the Pinkhurst podcast. It's been a while since I've had any guests because I've wanted to talk to myself mostly, and Herman Hesse and Haruki Murakami. And when I do have the odd here and there communication, I have to be careful with my energy, I've found, because it just can quickly drain me. But today, you just arrived up here to our home, and your home just burned in the fires that are still burning in LA. So my intention, as I mentioned, is to just arrive with you and to document this moment for fun. And hearing you when you were driving up here and talking to you these past few days since all of your stuff burned, except some underwear and a pair of shoes and yourself. I've just noticed this really interesting, not just in you and myself and everyone around me, but there's the spiritual, if you will, or the awareness of the temporal, the ancestors, the sweep, as Candace said matter-of-factly, and it's such a tone that was quite comforting, and that not too many people luckily have died, it seems. So there's that and Bear's Belly and this awareness of the unchecked arrogance or the Western growing hunger and then the nature return. But anyway, I've noticed that side of things today at the gym. Ran into two people who almost immediately were able to go to the silver linings, if you will, of the human connection, which I witnessed in September 11th on my first day of high school at a new school in New York City. And then there's the human stuff, the frazzled, the frustration, the not wanting to wake up in the morning, the stress I feel as my two divorced parents are here, and the sweetness I see my mom trying to show you, and Rock's energy, and just all of these things. So before we officially start talking, I guess, I didn't prepare anything for this episode. And I just opened a book of poems by Hesse, because as you know, I've been rabbit holing down Hesse's world. And this is a book of poetry called The Seasons of the Soul. And I just opened it to this, so I wanted to read it from Hesse to us. It's called On a Long March Through the Night. We march with storm and slanted rain. Dark open fields and cloud shadows are our solemn companions. Suddenly a path of light opens between dark clouds, and a moon-filled night gazes quietly over the swarming landscape. The heavens offer islands of blue. Solid stars send their greetings, and the edges of the clouds burn in silver flames of moonlight. Soul of mine, be ready. Distant brothers are calling to take us from the darkness to step upward on a golden ladder. Soul of mine, now drink deeply of these symbols. Drown yourself totally in this vast space. Your dark path, too, has God as guide toward the light. So, I've really been in this space of like feeling everything and allowing myself to oscillate between. So, I don't want to try to grab anything. I do think I'm going to call this episode Lay Down in the Fire, because that's a song from Electric Bible, which we're releasing. And that was written 7-8 years ago, and now it's starting to come out as these fires, and just noticing synchronicities. And you've been experiencing synchronicities, and Yeah. How are you?
Good.
Who are you?
Well, I'm somebody in a 81-year-old carbon-based life form. It's good to be here. I stopped and filled up with gas when I got here, before I came to your house. Seems in this environment to always have a full tank, so to speak. And my car's filthy from the fires in LA, but I squeegeed the windshield in the back window, and the squeegee was remarkable, which is unusual because most squeegees are just terrible. So when I finished, I walked in the gas station. This was a very nice young man, rather large. I mean, tall, not. And I said, I just came in to thank you. That's the best squeegee I've found in years. And he got this big smile on his face, and he said, I know, they're so hard to find. We can't find them. We just buy them whenever we can. I said, well, God bless you, man, because I haven't seen a squeegee that good in decades. So that's how my arrival started. And
was it at the gas station in the middle of town right there?
Yeah, it's called Supreme Gas, whatever that is. And
was he an interesting fellow, like a young man, or was he an older man?
Man.
Yeah, I know that guy. He's a funny cat.
Sweet guy.
Yeah.
So, not to beat a dead horse, so to speak, but what was I trying to clear? I was trying to get enough energy in my car, 4 more gallons. I was trying to clear the glass I look through. Is it a metaphor? Yeah. I mean, everything's a metaphor. Was it actually a windshield? Yeah. I am sitting with you. And the circle that I see is maybe even because I have the point of view to stand on it. The last home I ever owned, as you know, was on Point Dume, westernmost piece of land in that part of the coast, across from State Park, 2 acres that was an extraordinary home. We heard sea lions at night. I've never owned a home since, nor will I. I left that place to go to New York to be with you. We don't have to say in this how hard that was. We both know. Because we were both dealing with whatever we were dealing with, which people have to do. The roads continued after that for you and me. But now I am back with you on the same coast. To put a very fine point on it, the policewoman who got me in to see the ruins of my home, because I couldn't go in without a police escort, we ended up laughing and crying together, she and I, which if you told me I was going to do that with a woman, I would have thought, why would I do that? But we did. The 2 days before the fire, she was moved to go out to Point Dume and stand on that piece of land across from our house, where she'd never been. And I told her about meeting the Chumash elder, whose name I'm not going to say here, but you know it, years ago, and the most powerful man I've ever met. And I had met some people who the world calls powerful, but this guy had something else. And I, for some reason, told it to this policewoman about meeting him, and how he said that first he called me a stranger, and then he said, you're not a stranger, you're the first non-Indian who's ever been in that workroom of mine. And how stunned I was by that. And that moved her to talk about how she is a Reiki master, which a number of police colleagues know, that a dragon came to her in her dream and told her to go to Costa Rica and do ayahuasca. And as you may well know, and I'm not going to repeat it on this thing either, I have a rather large story about a dragon that involves you as a little boy.
And I have a very large dragon tattoo on my back.
And you have a very large dragon
which
tattoo.
I didn't plan.
And the dragon that I met in Paradise Cove the night you left with your mother. So dragons. So circles.
Fire.
Always fire. I believe Noah was told the next time it's fire. So who knows? What we know, I mean, in the Native American church, the peyote ceremony, you sit in a hut, at least that I've seen it, staring at a fire that's been extremely carefully laid by the roadman, the medicine person who's providing that ceremony. And you drink the medicine and you stare at that fire for 12 hours. You get a 5-minute break so you don't pee where you're sitting. You don't leave until it's over. You don't lie down. You don't hallucinate. You keep your eyes open. You sing the songs if you know them. And if you don't, you just kind of hum along. And then if you pray, you pray. And what that ceremony tells you is that that fire is eternal. That fire burns inside of you. That's why we're alive right now. That fire is from the sun, which will eventually consume the earth in its dying throes, as we know. That's pretty conceptual, but try to feel that. We know there's climate change. We know we've contributed to it. We know the earth is heating up. Los Angeles is in the crosshairs at the moment. We know that we belong to a primate species. It was very clever. But kind of like the little girl who said, I can spell Mississippi, but I never know when to stop. We just never knew when to stop. If we can do it, we do it. And that whole indigenous Iroquois thing about, well, we could do that, but what would it mean 7 generations from now if we do? We don't do that. We don't think what happens in our lifetime if we do that. That's okay. In my world, that's okay. I've gone through a time of years of being, first hating myself. That was a long road. Then being incredibly self-righteous and thinking I knew the right way and other people who didn't know it were jerks. That wasn't any better than hating myself. I now find I'm kind of amused. As you say, I have a car, 1 pair of shoes and 2 pairs of pants. And I have no idea what I'm doing after I leave you and Molly and your beautiful son and your mother. And I've never been in that place. And then I think, no, I have been in that place. It's been a long time. But I have been here before. I'm back. I've had people reach out and offer me homes in various places, from Taos to Sun Valley to San Juan Islands to Maine, Florida, Kansas City. Lovely offers. New York. I don't know where I'm going, and I don't need to know at this moment. What I need to be is what I'm doing right now, is to sit here with you. And if I can do that, then everything's going to take care of itself. If I sit here with you and squander the time with you and Rock and Molly and your mother and wonder what's going to happen to me and oh, poor me, I don't know what that will solve. And all I will succeed in doing is not being here. It's taken me years to say what I'm saying right now. I wrote a poem about 3 weeks before this fire called Chrysalis.
Want me to read it?
If you can read it, I think it's kind of funny.
I actually read it on a little rambly episode I recorded before, but it bears repeating since you're a bear. Found a typo.
I love the typo, and I don't want to change it because your mind adds it. When you read it, please add it. Of course,
no, I did.
And I love that. I've never done that before. There's a missing verb, but your mind puts it there because it's supposed to be there, which is really important because you know what we see? We see what we think we're supposed to see.
100%. So a few weeks or so before you lost your home,
right?
You wrote this
where I've
poem.
lived for 10 and a half years, longer than I've ever lived anywhere in my life.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Wow. So you wrote this poem. It's called The Chrysalis. Did you ever wonder what happens inside one of those caterpillar coffins? It is, as you know, where butterfly candidates must go. No way around that nightmare of dissolution. Want to fly, do you? Die first. Seriously, die. Before you decide, try everything else first. Everything. Money, power, sex, suicide, not the same. It's a long list, this human experience, this upright ape history. When ready, wrap yourself in the shroud that you have always had. Curl up. Freeze. Don't fucking move. When the shroud falls away, your wings will be wet. Let the sun dry them. Feel the spontaneous smile that comes for no reason. Welcome home.
Like smiling at a good squeegee in a gas station.
I was talking to various people about you, people who love you, and noticing how we all have different perspectives which shift in and out. As I told you, I often feel kind of a jovial excitement at times like this, like instinctually. And then I also, at 4 a.m., feel the grief. And I imagine what it must be like to be in your age range and how much you, I don't know if need is the word, because we don't know what we need, I guess, but how much you relish solitude and that sanctuary that was for you. And now you're being thrust into the wind of who knows. And so all these different parts, and one of the people who love you said, half jokingly, but it's good for him. It'll keep him young. And then another one, it is true, I think. True. And then another one who loves you said, yeah, I mean, I hope so, but also, anyway, all these different parts. All these different parts. But I was talking to Molly and feeling with you that it makes sense that you had to do it this way, and that like stripping yourself like a nana over the years, all the things that you've had to literally let go of to become a literal poem or a literal yourself, and to do what Hess talked about in that poem, arriving, recognizing, hearing, walking. So yeah, it's everything all at once for everyone going through all the different things. But it does feel correct and right for you to do it this way.
It seems inevitable.
Yeah, it does kind of.
And there's a poem I've always loved by W.S. Merwin, written early in his life, strangely. He was uncannily wise at a young age, called Merwin's Blessing, which I've read to you. And in it...
Merwin with a W?
Merwin's Blessing.
Yeah.
It was first published in The New Yorker, I think. He was Poet Laureate of America a couple of times. He died in Hawaii. Had a long, distinguished life. Liked his solitude. So in the poem, which I cannot quote, he is addressing his spirit, which he deems to be a wolf. And he himself feels like a dog. And as a dog, he knows that he has given his power away endlessly. And he has all these amazing images like the scaffolds of approval. That's a pretty interesting phrase. All the habitual dishes sporting his name.
Like the dog dishes.
Exactly. He has a line, even debris has its favorite positions, but they are not yours. And he feels the spirit of the wolf as this thing unencumbered by anything. And he's begging it to find him.
Lead him.
Lead him out of the comforts that he cannot give up and that hold nothing, but he's so accustomed to them. So I think I first read that poem thanks to Sarah Elizabeth Neese, wherever you are, who's the reason I actually came to Los Angeles in the first place. A woman I've known since I'm 17. I haven't seen her in many years. You saw her the last time I saw her. She gave me a birthday party in New York. You, me, Matthew, William. I haven't seen her since. She put me onto that poem. If you're alive, Sarah, and you're hearing this, I wouldn't have the same life except for. And I look back, Zach, and I think of all the people, friends, enemies, strangers, encounters that led me to everything I've done. It's astonishing to see the pattern from here. For anybody, but I would advise anyone listening to this, just look back and see how you got where you got. I occasionally run into people who say they did everything themselves. I feel extremely sorry for those people. That's a lonely ego rattling the bars of its cage. None of us do anything alone. None of us.
It makes me think, talking of poets and various people, I read this also on a recent episode, which actually will probably come out after this, but it bears repeating as well. So Hess wrote fairy tales, if you
I didn't know
are
that.
familiar, and fantasies. So this is one of those books. It's called Pictor's Metamorphosis and Other Fantasies.
You do devour everyone you
Yeah,
encounter in a way that I find astonishing.
It's important for me.
I know.
So in this short fairy tale called Lulu, it's magical and surreal, and there's wonderful characters, one of whom is a poet, which seems to be Herman himself, disguised as Lauscher. So one part that leads to the next part, Lauscher says, "Yes, I'll admit that the book I recently published troubles me. I must learn anew how to create out of the plenum, Plenum,
I think that's actually an alchemical word.
Yeah, I think it's everything.
I think it
what
is
means.
everything, and I think it's a word out of alchemy. But yes, it does mean everything.
But you don't know how to pronounce it?
I've never heard it said aloud, so I know I don't.
Yeah. So I must learn anew how to create out of the plenum, to go back to where all things begin. It's not so much that I want to write something new. What I need is new experiences, a fresh, clean, healthy strip of life to live. I want, as in my childhood, to lie down on the banks of streams, to climb mountains, to play my fiddle, to run after girls, to take whatever life, whatever each day has to offer. I want to wait for my poems to come to me, instead of breathlessly and anxiously hunting them down." Right you are, the voice of Turnabout suddenly chimed in. So Turnabout's the philosopher in this story, and he's magical, and he keeps appearing and disappearing. He goes on to say, this is Turnabout, "I've always felt a certain kinship with poets and have gotten to know quite a few on whom my friendship was not entirely wasted. Poets, even today, more so than other people, are inclined to believe in certain stable, eternal forces and concepts of beauty which lie half asleep in the womb of life, the intimation of which sometimes shines through the enigmatic present as summer lightning shines through the night. In such moments of illumination, it seems to them that all ordinary life, and they with it, are nothing more than pictures Limned on a lovely curtain. Is that the right? Limned?
Yeah.
Limned on a lovely curtain. And only behind this curtain does genuine, true life go on. The most supreme, the most eternal words of the great poet seem, even to me, but the babblings of a dreamer who, without knowing it, murmurs through heavy lips of the heights of the world beyond, heights he has only briefly glimpsed.
Oh.
So that reminds me of the young poet writing Merwin. It's just, we're just...
Yeah.
And so laying down in fire, if that's what this is called, is the surrendering to that, obviously. It's the not resisting as much as possible.
Exactly.
And,
so,
yeah.
I'll just give you an example. I was talking to my lovely friend and psychiatrist for these last 10 years who's refused to charge me anything for the last 9, which... It's important to accept help, and for some of us it's hard to accept. When you accept help, it helps you and it helps the person who gives it to you. So to refuse it is to refuse an exchange that would help 2 people. Anyway, this relationship has changed him as well as me. And he has allowed me, through his courage and generosity, to see the changes in him, which is not typical in this relationship. And we talked after the fire and the house was gone. We'd usually talk once a week for about 50 minutes on FaceTime. This was an unscheduled call because of the events. He said he had other friends and patients who'd lost homes. And then he said, of all the people I know, David, I think you're best equipped to handle this. I said, well, okay. I said, the funny thing is, when I leave Zach and Molly and Rock, I have no idea where I'm going. I mean, there's a part of me that I might even fear this, that I think I'm going to get in my car and just start driving with my phone off and without a destination. And he said, why do you fear that? I said, because I don't want to hurt my children. He said, well, then leave your phone on. And he said, if that's what you need to do, go do that.
Kind of sounds like the poet needing to do that. Fresh start, not for something new, but to reconnect
to himself.
Yeah.
And so I am the luckiest man I ever met. I mean that with every molecule of my being. I hope everyone else feels that way about themselves if they can. I have been privileged to know and see so many things, both in the material world and in that mysterious other world. It's astonishing to me what I've been allowed to see. And what I know is when which I do frequently, sink into simply the material world, and I'm only this old guy with 2 very bad knees. I was supposed to have knee surgery, but the fire kind of changed my plans. If I sink totally into that, I can get a little, trapped. When I remember that I'm a spirit in a carbon-based life form, I go, oh, yeah, it's like you hit turbulence and then it smooths out again. If I go way off into spirit, whatever I deem that to be, I'm really not paying attention to my life here in a carbon-based life form, which seems kind of silly since I am in one right now. So it is that balance. So the image is of a tightrope walker, I suppose. And you could say the wire is stretched over the Grand Canyon. And I wrote a poem about that. It occurs to me just now. I've thought of this a long time in this.
Razors, right? Ribbons.
It's in Root Chakra Part 1. And the poem, I can't quote it, but it's like I'm on a wire over a canyon. If I stop, I'll be sliced in 2 pieces. Something like that.
Yeah, I remember.
I have fallen into the canyon many times. Oh, it's called The Pearl. That's the name of the poem. And the doctors have put me together in the ways they have, from the point of view they have. But the falling and the injury and the wire, I think it says spun from the wire monkey mother. God bless you, Mom. My mother, by the way, was an Amazon, and so was her mother, which is part of why I'm blessed. Anyway, that they see the heart, the edema, the injuries, the so on, and what they don't see is a bivalve making a pearl. And without the injury, there is no pearl. And the voice says, kind of like Kavafi went often poems with 2 voices. So a voice comes in and says, can I pay a little less than everything for that pearl? And the voice at the end of the poem says, no, this one costs everything. And I think that's where I am today. This one costs everything.
I love it, and it's worth it.
Yeah.
And you driving off, because I think your knees are saying it's good time we don't need to talk too much more. But I've been...
Were we talking? I thought we were
No, I actually don't feel
I thought we
like
were
we were
dreaming
talking.
and together.
It feels good to dream together.
I know the word liminal is something I haven't used most of my life because I wasn't smart enough to use it, but
it's become too popular.
I feel like we're in that kind of space. See?
I feel it too. So I've been writing because of that poem that I basically dictated from you talking to my brothers and I, the year of the snake. And I haven't written poetry since Lily Pad that you edited with me, the 216 poems that I wrote a year ago.
That was so much fun.
It really was. So I might be writing a new book. I don't know. But there was one, and I'm thinking of you driving off with no phone. I think I wrote this yesterday. And it's called No Device Connected. Every speak is too much, draining. I'd rather talk to dead people, listen. Animal noises, silliness, they give me life. My son's enthusiasm, his monkeys see alt versions of what he witnesses us doing, but with an innocent twist. Loose leaf becomes robots, Play-Doh patisserie. I buy a notebook, he needs one too. Last night, in the afterglow of procuring said journals, he invited me to a writing party. I was too tired. Not now, I said. He adapted and brought Mama. His feral shadowing is unencumbered by adult barnacles, pure joy of it. Heartbreaking tenderness. I love them too much to waste any more time explaining.
Gorgeous.
But
he showed me that book when I walked in.
He did or I did?
He did.
Yeah. Buying notebooks is a tricky business. I wanted to buy a vintage notebook. That's why he said his is vintage, because it felt, but it's hard to find a vintage notebook. All right, one more, and then you say whatever you want, and then we can do whatever we want. So this one's Love This Pain. which is another song off Electric Bible. Love this pain, not masochistic, kissing masks to crack our limited, that's what this is. Logos, pathos, our Havanese is telepathic. Narcissus, Goldman, side by side, ad infinitum. Laughing in his sleep between us. Juju at your feet, making sounds he never utters while awake. What do our sleeping songs sound like? Through red lenses we read dead men, Steppenwolves, my pink matter venison. Let us in, again the knock, asylum art therapy, again I'm not it, playing tag with a friend who's been mending socks. These rhyme games tickle my brain in a brine strange pickle, and the time frame sideways is dripping. Now a drizzle is enough to drink for dry days. Fiddle with the monster truck you whittled, loving my pain. It'll introduce me to the stranger I've been courting since a pup. Hide and seek with our wild boy, reminding us of us. Anyway.
I love you.
I love you too. That one was unnecessary, Kevin. You can cut it. No?
The I love you?
No, the last poem I read.
Oh.
Cut to the I love you.
So, I want to quote this person. I wish to God I knew who said this. We do not love people for who they are. We love people for who we are around them. When I'm in your presence, I am aware that I am loved.
Ruining my plans, raining on my parade. It's out of my hands. I'm not afraid anymore.